That's a wrap challenge. Christmas is coming. The goose is getting fat. You're all going to have all this paper waste. What you going to do with that?
Light from Lantern presents Knit a Spell. I'm magical maker, Katie Rempe.
And I'm the maker of magic, James Devine.
Join us as we stitch together the symbiotic relationship between crafting
and the craft. Was that a downer? Is that kind of a downer?
I think it's real. It's really real.
Paper waste and Christmas.
Yay! 'Tis the season to rethink wrapping ideas. Yay!
Yes. So it's the different kind of wrap. I know I started with a wrap on wrapping.
I liked it. It was masterful.
It was really, very dumb. It was very
such a
dumb,
wordsmith. Yeah. I don't know. It was better than my joke last week, but you know.
One of the biggest traditional holiday waste items is wrapping paper.
Yes.
And anyone who sits there on Christmas morning with the kids opening up Christmas gifts, that's me, knows that, oh my gosh, it's so much fun. Part of the fun is ripping up,
absolutely
the wrapping paper. And then you just have this piles and piles of gift wrap that goes into bags and bags that I put into the recycling bin.
Yep. I can tell you one of the biggest things that I've learned about wrapping paper is that most of it isn't even recyclable, because a lot of the time it doesn't even have like papery product in there. It's like plastic and glitter and stuff that can't be recycled at all. Yes. Yeah. A good tip that we just recently heard was if you crinkle the paper and it doesn't stay that way and it goes back to its sort of original shape, no good for recycling.
So it's the super cheap stuff that's usually recyclable, like the super thin paper, like wrapping paper that's probably recyclable. The stuff that tears that you really can't, that is really annoying to wrap with.
Yeah.
But the really thick stuff that you really love and that, is glittery and shiny and kind of holographic and shiny that you paid like $8 for. Not recyclable.
No, I know. It totally blew my mind.
Yeah. It's these things we don't really think about, but like the numbers are nuts. The numbers are wild. So let me see if I can find, according to some research, we spend like in the US, $12.7 billion on gift wrap.
That's billion.
$billion. And about 60 seconds is what it takes to like tear through it all.
Oh my God.
Most of it ends up in landfills. And it is an environmental, like the microplastics and the glitter is really awful for the environment. Microplastics get into the environmental system and cause major problems when animals and fish mistake the microplastics for food and then starve to death and wreaks havoc on our ecosystem.
Yes.
Microplastics and other things also poison the system and cause, the breakdown of our ecosystem, which eventually causes the breakdown of us.
Because we eat those poisonous fish. we poison.
We could say save the whales, but or save the earth, but what we're really saying is save the humans.
That's right.
If we care about that.
Well, help us save us from ourselves.
And make the world a more pleasant and more wonderful place for humans and for whales and for kittens and puppies and innocent beings that are here. So we wanted to talk about the environmental impact of, generally this is about the environmental impact of consumerism and the environmental impact of single-use things at the holiday time. This happens, I think, at all holidays, but certainly a lot at Christmas time because of, it's Christmas time.
That's right. That's when everybody makes their dollars if you're a business, and where a lot of people's expectations lie in receiving things.
That's right. Yeah. So we talked at the Yuletide last week. We talked a lot about Yuletide, and we've been talking about, what are some gifts we can give that avoid some of these environmental pitfalls, like giving people things that are experiences instead of things.
Right.
Experiences are things that we remember and don't have to dust or give away or recycle.
Right.
That often don't come wrapped in plastic, that have a lower impact on the environment. Typically, we have also talked about consumables, which sometimes can be problematic. If I give you a box of chocolates wrapped in plastic, that can be an issue. If I made you a, loaf of bread, I can choose to package that in paper or wrap it in, beeswax coated fabric.
Right.
Even
Smart.
beeswax coated fabric that I've made. These are other ways to, give gifts.
Right.
So we wanted to talk today about some alternatives that I have never thought of before, really talking about this and be able to give us fun alternatives. Now, some of these are going to be out of people's reach or ability. That's okay. It's just interesting to start to think about something differently and to do what might be, to start to talk about it and to start to move maybe 1 millimeter closer and make one little change.
Yes.
And I think the most important thing to do is for us not to judge ourselves harshly for having Christmas or opening up presents. Like, you're going to have wrapping paper downstairs or in the attic. Use it.
Right. Yes.
You have it. You already bought it. Like, don't go overboard in trying to be more environmental than others. Like, just relax.
Yeah. As soon as it's turning into a competition, maybe it's not like with the best intention anymore.
As soon as this becomes like something terrible, we're doing it wrong. We need to let go of the guilt and shame and start to just embrace, hey, could we do one thing that's slightly different? Can I wrap one present? Can I at least say the gifts I'm going to give to my spouse or to my friend are going to be wrapped in something different? And what are some alternatives? So that's what I think we want to talk about. And I just want to say to everyone listening, I love you. And I think you're doing a great job, and wrap your presents in what you can and what you can afford.
Absolutely. The biggest thing is we're not judging. We're just offering like fun, different ways that you can wrap things without traditional wrapping paper. And I think that's something that helps us access magic in general is, to fall back on wrapping paper. Well, yeah, I mean, that's the easy idea because that's what we know firsthand. Like, oh, okay, well, if I need something wrapped, it's equal to wrapping paper. However, as soon as we kind of challenge ourselves to use that as a creative constraint, you realize there's actually like a ton of other options that you could use that may actually even help enhance the gift giving experience or the gift itself. It could be part of the gift even. So it's bigger than just the small idea of wrapping something, and like, what's to say that even, isn't the idea of wrapping paper the element of surprise with the gift? Who's to say that it has to be gift wrapped at all? Who's to say it couldn't be like, oh, next year we're starting the tradition of the holiday scavenger hunt, and we're going to hide all the unwrapped gifts, or maybe they're just wrapped in something really plain, like just regular paper that you got from the grocery store, in the new paper bags that they're giving everybody. Maybe you decorated them, maybe you didn't, but that's what's hidden away. And so even if they're unwrapped, first of all, you're saving a lot of money on wrapping paper. And second of all, you're still getting that element of surprise, like, oh, there it is. And it's there for that person. And no, they didn't know they're getting it. And now there it is. So I think there are ways that we can just totally flip the idea, but have the same experience. Don't you think?
Sure. I mean, things can just be in a box.
Yeah.
I can imagine a time when the gift that I have for you is in my room and I go upstairs and get it and I bring it down in the gift box that is just one box that's decorated, and you get to open that box and lift it out.
There you go.
And then the next person goes and gets their gift and puts it in that gift box, and they get to open it and lift it out, right? And it's just one box that's decorated that everyone gets to use to present their gifts, kind of like the chef with the cloche on top of the dinner that lifts the cloche as a surprise.
Oh my gosh. Is it called a present because it's being presented to you by way of the wrapping paper? Am I just putting that together?
Maybe.
Maybe? Huh. Okay.
Present.
I'm presenting this to you. You get to unwrap it and see what it is. It's a present.
Present. Huh. So there's a little bit of the surprise of although there is something really satisfying about ripping open, like to see a kid tear into all that wrapping paper on a big gift. The big, remember as a kid, I had that Tonka dump truck, the yellow dump truck. Ooh. And I remember ripping into that and that's part of the fun, right?
Yes.
But for a kid, it's fun to do that with funny papers, with the comic. But anyway, We'll get into suggestions in the second half on what we could do. Mm-hmm. I think that one of the things that you said is really important, the creative constraint. This whole podcast is about where magic and making come together, crafting and the craft. What is the creative constraints? Creative constraints are the psychological liminal space where we put a constraint on ourselves, or the constraints are recognized, that actually promote and advance our creativity.
Yes.
We are less creative when we have an open carte blanche to do anything. Mm-hmm. If I say to you, make me anything, Katie, you can knit me anything. That is the
wrong answer.
Totally. Usually that's the thing that will have someone freeze and wonder, what the hell could I do?
Deer in headlights every time.
But if I say, you can't, please knit, I would like something, but it can't be a hat, or it has to be purple. Mm-hmm. I really want it to be either a scarf, or I don't like mittens. I would prefer socks, but I'd be okay with the scarf. Mm-hmm. Now you're like, oh, I'm having some constraints here.
Mm-hmm. You're getting an idea.
Has to be purple. I prefer sparkles, but if that's hard, I don't want lavender. I really want it to be purple.
Yep.
I hate stripes.
That's
but I
very
love polka
important.
Dots.
Yes. And it's interesting because sometimes when you're making things for people, they don't know what they want. So it's a great opportunity to help people even, kind of flesh out things that they're interested in getting. So especially before you put so much time into it.
Right. There's other ways to have creative constraints. They help with our mind. They help us stretch. So if we take this on and say, wow, could I have gifts under the tree that are more environmentally conscious? Could I do something that is beautiful and more environmentally conscious? How could I do that?
Right.
So this is really an exciting thing to think about. In the show notes, we'll have some links that have some really beautiful examples of environmentally conscious ideas that we're going to talk about. And you'll see how gorgeous some of these things can be and how they can look. I mean, it's kind of shocking how you can use natural materials and they look amazing. If you have ideas, please drop us a line and let us know. Send us pictures. We want to see them, and we'll put them up as well. We'll share them for sure.
Oh, yeah. Especially if you're doing anything on your social media, especially Instagram, feel free to tag us in there, Knit a Spell, and we'll reshare to inspire others.
For sure. So when we come back, let's talk about how we want to step out of the norm.
Yes.
What we might use instead of wrapping paper. What are some ideas we have, and how we can make those magical? Shall we?
Absolutely. I can't wait. We'll be right back. Hey, Knit a Spell listeners, are you looking for a magical accessory to add to your making or magical toolkits? Well, guess what? We have the perfect merchandise for you from your favorite podcast, Knit a Spell. The front of each bag includes our logo so that you can tell everyone that you're a fan of the best podcast that includes magic and making in the entire world that I'm currently aware of. If you're a maker, you'll especially love the magical sigil I've put on the back of the large drawstring bag, which will help you notice any mistakes in your project sooner than you might expect. The back of the smaller zip bag has inspiring notions to help get your creative juices flowing, and is made from a sturdy fabric to house sharp things like scissors, needles, and more. Both of our Knit a Spell bags are available exclusively at makersmercantile.com. And while you're there, feel free to check out all the amazing making materials they have for knitting, crochet, and more. And we're back, and we're going to discuss some interesting ways to wrap gifts that don't include gift wrap. Yay!
Gifts without gift wrap.
I know. So, like, as a crafter, especially a knitter, as a designer, the first thing that came to my mind was, all of these little gauge swatches that I have everywhere and design samples and things. What if I just seamed them all together into like one master fabric and then used that to wrap around gifts, especially gifts that I was giving that were handmade?
That would be really cool.
It's kind of meta.
I'm like, I got a scarf wrapped in a scarf.
That's right.
Or something. This isn't exactly a scarf. What is this?
Yeah, a scarf wrapped in a scrap. Yes.
There is a lot of, I think fabric makes a really excellent gift wrap.
Mm-hmm. Lots of crafters out there have extra fabric laying around too.
Especially if it's cotton or wool or something that's biodegradable.
Yep.
And reusable. There's a lot of, even if you buy new fabric and go to the store and get remnants as gift wrap, I think that is a really great gift.
Right.
If you're giving a gift that you purchased to someone who is a crafter, they can use that in their next thing.
That's like part of the gift instead of it just being like an afterthought almost. Yeah.
That's right. There's also the idea of, with that can be the gift, you can use a scarf, a silk scarf as gift wrap.
Yeah.
This is a great way to use a silk scarf, tighten a bow. Suddenly you are giving someone a scarf. And if this scarf is from a secondhand shop or somewhere like that, you can often find, thin pieces of old vintage or something like that.
Yep.
Scarves or anything like this.
Cotton bandanas, that sort of thing. Another great thing to use. Similar. Yep.
They make
just
great
going
bows.
To like a secondhand or thrift store in general to like get, what's the like least expensive, most holiday fabric on a shirt. You can cut up shirts and just use those as, the fabric, and use the fraying that might happen as part of the decoration. Again, just let your imagination run wild.
This is a really fun thing to do, is using fabric as a gift, as gift wrap.
Yep.
Yeah.
I also, so growing up, I used to make my own wrapping paper with my mom. So we would cut up the paper bags that would come from the grocery store, because before they used plastic bags, they had these great paper bags. Same things you used to cover your books with, which I don't know if kids still do that anymore. But so you would cut those up, use the other side that didn't have all the advertising on there, and then you could either leave it like that, which has, that like craft paper look that's actually very modern right now, especially if you use like a little yarn that you have left over, or a little bow or fabric ribbon, whatever, to sort of tie it off. Or you could decorate it afterwards. It's a great thing to do if you have kids. Get them involved, or if you just need like a creative outlet, it's fun for you to do.
If you have a stamp laying around.
Exactly. Yep. Pull out stickers, whatever you have in your bin of stuff looking to be used. Again,
there's a classic brown paper packages tied up with string.
Yes.
These are a few of my favorite things. Take a sprig of whatever evergreen grows near you.
Ooh.
Or a few sprigs of any kind of evergreen, or from your kitchen bay leaves.
Oh, yes.
Those make excellent decorations or any kind of greenery. Those make excellent additions to brown paper.
Yep.
And a little bit of green or red yarn wrapped around. That is such a gorgeous way to use brown paper. And again, brown paper from the store, from your grocery bags, brown paper, lunch bags, any kind of brown paper like that, butcher paper. Even if you purchase brand new, paper from the store, craft paper is a really great option because it's recyclable. It's, often made of recycled paper already.
Great point. Yep.
And it's often biodegradable. It's often recyclable.
Yep. So you can use it for magic. It's great for burning and everything. I mean, it's got a ton of use. I, of course, used to be a pattern maker. So craft paper was a huge part of my life at one point. You can iron it, by the way. It's magical. Yeah, what? I know that look. What? Why iron paper? It's a long story, but you can. Yeah.
So I can crease it and make it perfectly into fabulous.
Oh, you used to have, brief side tangent, you used to have to turn in your paper patterns that you designed for your fashion classes so that they could also be graded. And if they didn't look pristine, like you didn't use them for some reason, even though that's how you made your outfit, you would get points deducted. So we realized we could just iron the paper and it looked wonderful. So there's a little hack for you. If you need to refresh the paper that you got to make your wrapping paper, briefly iron it, briefly. And it should be fine. Just don't go over any glue. So, or tape.
Amazing. One of the ways to make tape that is not plastic is to use rice. You can use cooked rice and mash it. It becomes very, very sticky. You can also use sticky rice. And if you mash up rice or even wheat, you can use flour and you can use flour paste, or you can buy flour. If you're gluten intolerant, you can use rice. But both of those rice, you can buy rice glue or rice paste, and you can use those instead of plastic cellophane tape. And those are really great to use with paper because they're very good bond. And that is a really great way to, again, avoid the plastic.
Yeah.
Little tiny ways. And how fun is that?
Think of that bowl of rice you didn't rinse out right away and then it dries on there after an hour. It is cement. That I've never thought about that, but that is such a great point.
Yeah, it's very easy to do that. It's just like paper mache.
Oh, right.
You think about paper mache uses glue, but you can use it like rice paste. Or flour paste. Yeah.
Another interesting thing that I thought of this morning, if you're like me and you have this weird obsession of keeping every glass jar or container that you get, like if you're buying, I don't know, a spice and then you use it all and you have this great glass container that you're like, but it's glass. I can't, like if it were plastic, I'd recycle it, but it's glass. That's good. And you keep them forever for no reason like me, this is a great opportunity to pull them all out, spray paint them, maybe put them in gold or red or whatever, or cover them with, again, extra yarn or fabric that you might have laying around and sort of repurpose them into gift bags. So maybe they're like for food or small gift items, whatever, but a great way to use something you might already have.
It's a great idea. I like the idea of using the funny paper, the funny pages or the comic book pages for
great
kids' gifts, keeping those from the Sunday paper and wrapping kids' gifts in those because kids love tearing into and ripping up, the gift that they're getting. And that's a really fun way. I used to have gifts wrapped in the comics. I think that's a lot of fun. I think it's also really fun to use other print materials. So I love the idea of going to a thrift store and buying music and using that.
Oh, yeah.
And you can decorate them. Yeah, sheet music. Decorate the sheet music with, your gold or red or green pens a little bit. Put a little bit in there, a few things in there. If you can find holiday sheet music, wouldn't that be an amazing?
Oh my gosh. So meta.
That would be great.
Oh man. Yeah. Great idea. I love that. I mean,
I also like there is newsprint that you can buy that's blank. I used a lot of that in art class. Large format newsprint is pretty, I don't know if it's the most inexpensive, but it's pretty inexpensive as an art material.
Usually, yeah.
And, that's something that you can paint on with tempera paint or do anything with. And that ends up becoming really cool wrapping paper if you want to use, art that you've made with kids or things that you've done, that's a great way to make wrapping paper as well.
I guess any book at that point would be good if you have like graphic novels or things like that. Gosh, I used to have like a million of them. I could just see now like, oh, well, it would have been nice. You know, I often donated them, especially if I had like a whole series of them. But now I can see like, oh, it would have been really cool wrapping paper with all like the action moves and everything. Even just regular books, I suppose.
If you cut up my Elf Quest, not graphic, I'm going to kill you.
It's going to be so awkward when I present your gift later. Just kidding. Hopefully, we'll inspire people to think outside of the box and maybe even drop us a line again with things that maybe they already do or things we're inspiring them now that they've heard what we're having to say. You can always drop us an email at knitispellpodcast@gmail.com.
I love all these ideas for found wrapping or for alternatives to it. Mm-hmm. It's so much fun to think outside the wrap.
Yes, the gift box. Oh, I see what you did there. You really are slaying it today.
Slay all day.
That's right.
Checking out my other Christmas sweater.
They're
it's a
so
little bit
good.
ridiculous.
Well, speaking of wrap, why don't we wrap our episode with a little oracle reading, huh?
Oh, let's do it.
Yay. So since we had Thomas from Hermit's Mirror on last week, I thought it might be fun to...
Last week? No, that was
2 weeks ago. At some point this month, wasn't it?
Months ago.
Remember that time we had Hermit's Mirror on? That's what I meant to say.
10 years ago. Yeah.
So we're going to use the... Lifeline Lenoracle deck to do our drawing today.
Oh, Lenoracle. I don't know how to read the Lenormand, but that's okay. We're going to do it anyway.
You know what? I'm more familiar now, and you can give me your first feedback on it as just like someone who doesn't know. That might actually be more interesting. I love that. Ooh. It's like having someone do tarot who doesn't know tarot, who's just like looking at the pictures and describing them to me. I love that too.
Okay.
All right, ready?
Yes.
Get into that flip. Ooh, that's right. That's the bridge.
The ASMR of it, I love.
One more time. There you go. All right, so our card is oh, shoot. We got the clouds.
King of Clubs.
Yes. So his Lenormand or Oracle, I can't actually remember if this is a real one or not. Since this deck has more cards in it than a traditional Lenormand deck, Thomas has put in extras. I can't remember. I don't think this one is an extra. I think this one is part of the regular Lenormand, however you say it. There, I suppose.
Yeah. So what I get from this is mastery of change. So I see the clouds moving, there's movement. The king seems like that mastery, the sort of ultimate ruler.
Speaking of Hierophant, right?
Yeah. So I think that's the ruler of transformation, the ruler of change. Mm-hmm. So what I get from this is a sign of you can own your experience. You don't have to let your experience own you. You can be the ruler of transformation, whether you chose that or whether you didn't, that you can own it.
Yeah, I agree. Things may not always be so clear, but if you're just willing to go through and see what's on the other side, you'll learn. Yeah. And that's how you master things and become the king. I love it, Jim. Well, hopefully, again, if listeners or people watching, whatever, want to comment with their feelings on our card, we'd love to hear from you too. Well, this was another amazing episode. As usual, I can't wait to not rewrap, but, wrap everything in like all of my old swatches from the things that I've made this year. It's going to be wonderful. How can people stay in touch with you, Jim, at this wonderful time of year?
Subscribe to my newsletter at thedivinehand.com. That's the number one thing to do. I send out little notes. I'm kind of lazy about it. That's how to do it.
But January is coming. I have to imagine that a new year means a line of new classes and things on the horizon. Yeah, so don't miss out.
Happen.
Don't miss out on like being advance notice and discounts and things by not being on his newsletter.
That's right. What about you? You have a great newsletter.
Oh, thanks. Yep, same. Can sign up for it, lightfromlantern.com. Still have all my patterns on Ravelry. And, 2022 is going to be here before you know it. Who knows what kind of exciting things I might have on the horizon.
Well, Katie, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Yes.
It's going to be here any minute.
I know.
So...
For better or worse, lean in like the Cloud King would. So
that's right.
All right. Well, until next week, everybody, have a great holiday. And Jim, you're the best. I'll see you soon.
So are you.
All right, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening, everybody. And don't forget, new episodes of Knit a Spell are conjured every Wednesday. Learn more at knitaspell.com and follow our Instagram page at Knit a Spell. If you have a quick second to support the show, feel free to drop us a review on iTunes or share this with a friend. Jim and I appreciate your support and look forward to seeing you next week.